Leisa, good morning. So it's nice to meet you in UAC and as the AFAN's Prudential Officer. So do you have something to tell us about AFAN? Because AFAN is the major sponsor of UAC this year. Yes.
Yeah, so AFAN is one of the historical main sponsors of UAC ever since 1986, the first UAC that happened. And we've done it every time since then. This is the 9th UAC in 2018. So AFAN is the Association for Astrological Networking, and so it's basically about connecting astrologers together and also about service to the whole community. And so historically, one of the major things we've done has been scholarships for people to get to conferences who otherwise might not afford it, and also for study stipends for people studying astrology. And so that's one of the ways that we do service for the community. And then the other big historical thing has been legal help. And so at least in the US, of course, the laws are different everywhere. And even in the US, it's different everywhere. But sometimes in the past, when AFAN was formed especially, there were astrologers getting in trouble with anti-fortune telling laws.
Wow.
And so they would actually be arrested. And so AFAN would help, so people would basically pay membership dues to kind of raise funds for legal help for astrologers. And we're successful pretty unanimously. There was actually one case that went all the way to the California Supreme Court, and it was decided in favor of the astrologer. And AFAN helped with that.
Wow, that sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I've heard that the International Astrology Day was created by AFAN. It's quite popular in China.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. It would be fun to come there sometime and see.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah. So the International Astrology Day is celebrated around the spring equinox every year, and it's just kind of how it sounds. It's meant to celebrate the field of astrology and have small gatherings in person or sometimes online for people to come and talk about astrology, and
so it's kind of worldwide, and it's and people from China and from Australia, Canada, and the US, all the world around people celebrate that. Yes. And we have the local contest this year. Yeah. So it's be good if you can have designed something and you can join us, and there will be a prize for the first winner. Yeah. Okay. So how about yourself as an astrologer? Could you please share us about what is your specialties?
Sure. So when I first got into astrology, I first learned modern Western astrology because that was what was readily available. And then later on, I learned some Hellenistic tools. And so now at this point, I kind of blend some of the best of, I like to say the best of, both, best of modern Western astrology, psychological astrology, and more predictive event-oriented astrology, Hellenistic astrology techniques. And so I mean, that's what I really like to do. I mean, I kind of have a humanistic bent, but I use specific techniques to kind of refine more distinct things in charts. And so I'm doing 2 lectures here and that kind of illustrate that. I'm doing one that's about the transiting Saturn cycle. And so usually you hear about that in more modern terms. So, the whole Saturn cycle is about 30 years, and you can divide it up into major turning points every 7 years. And so I'm talking about that, but also about how it shows the structure of someone's life, but sometimes you can see how that will either be more constructive or more difficult, depending on the specifics of the chart. So that's one. And then the other one I'm doing is Intro to Electional Astrology. So picking the best date and time to start important projects or events for the best possible results. And that's just fun, and I've learned that. And that's more traditional tools, but I think I talk about it in a pretty more modern way.
Yeah, that's nice. And also I know you have a pantry. Oh, there is a video show on the internet. You will pick up the most popular or most best of timing each month. On the podcast. So it's on the Astrology podcast, which Chris Brennan runs, and I do a monthly electional with him, a special podcast for people who are like a $5 or more per show subscriber tier, and so I pick
the best 4 or sometimes more, sometimes it's like 5 or 6, but at least 4 of the best dates and times I can find that particular calendar month to do important things.
Yeah. That's nice, and I'm a follower.
Yeah, yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, and so can you give us some tips for the coming months, and do you have some maybe big things will be happen, and to give the advice to the audience? Yeah.
In terms of astrological transits that are coming up, sure. I mean, a big one is going to be the Mars retrograde cycle.
Yeah.
So Mars will station retrograde at about 9 Aquarius in late June, so in about a month from now. And it will go backwards, and then it will go forwards later in the year. It will go direct around 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn. And Mars retrogrades are typically, what I like to tell people is, if it feels like your projects or your plans, things you're working on, are kind of stalled, or you thought something was getting going and now it's not going and it's kind of falling apart, that it's a time to understand that there's a time for review, and that's what's naturally happening. And so kind of don't despair if your projects suddenly feel like they're not going forward, but they will later, but it may require a backtracking. And the specifics, of course, depend on each individual's chart, because that shows what area of life that's happening in for someone. So that's a big thing. I would say, just other than that, I mean, there's a couple more eclipses coming up in July, August, that kind of caps off the Leo Aquarius for the most part. And after that, for the most part, they go into Cancer Capricorn.
Yeah.
I think the other major thing is just the continuation of Saturn in Capricorn. And it will eventually conjoin Pluto in Capricorn.
Yeah,
so not yet, but they're still in the same sign. And actually by Hellenistic considerations, they're considered in a way conjunct while they're in the same sign, even if they're not conjunct by degree. And they're influencing each other. And I think that's a time of a lot of power consolidation, a lot of, it tends towards at least some segments of society becoming more conservative, or trying to exert more power over other people. And so I don't know if I have a particular advice around that, but that's a little bit of the tenor of the times. Yeah. It's a real serious energy, and it's kind of time to kind of soberly take stock of your life. So yeah, I mean, that's a few year transit, of course, Saturn in Capricorn, but it's definitely a time to take care of business and be really responsible in everything.
Yeah, because recently a lot of people whose sun sign in the Capricorn ask me, "Oh, what's happened? I feel so bad recently."
Yes.
So I think it's maybe the coming 2 years will be kind of pressure or something.
Yeah, definitely. Saturn transiting anyone's sun sign will feel like a heavier time, or a time where you need to do more work than usual, or feel like more responsibility on your shoulders and things like that. So definitely for Capricorns in particular.
Yeah, okay, so just be ready, and so let's get through that transit.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Leisa.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for talking with me.
Thank you.